Have you ever wondered why two people with the same talents, the same starting point, can end up with completely different lives? One builds a life of meaning, momentum, and mastery. The other drifts, always busy, never fulfilled. Why? The answer isn't luck. It isn't intelligence. It's philosophy. Jim Rohn once said, "You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight." And that change in direction? It begins with your philosophy, the way you interpret the world, the values you hold, the beliefs that quietly drive every decision you make. But in a world that moves fast and speaks loud, very few stop to ask, what do I believe about success? Why do I make the choices I make? Most people borrow their philosophies from their parents, from trends, from social media. They live out stories they never wrote, they chase goals they never questioned, and then they wonder why it all feels disconnected. But what if, today, you took the pen back? What if you started to write your own code for living? This video is not about hype. It's not about tips or tricks. This is the beginning of a deeper journey into the first of Jim Rohn's 5 major pieces to the life puzzle, philosophy. Today we begin there, not with what you do, but with what you believe. Not with action, but with awareness. Because once your philosophy shifts, everything else can follow. So take a breath, slow down, and let's go inward before we move forward. Let's be honest, in today's world, being busy is easy. Being clear is rare. We know how to fill our calendars, multitask, stay active, but what we struggle with is this: staying aligned, staying true to ourselves. Every morning we wake up to a flood of noise, notifications, opinions, expectations. The world doesn't ask you to think, it asks you to react. Scroll, like, buy, compare, keep moving. Every app screams for attention. Every trend demands participation. And in that flood, something quietly slips away: your why. That's the silent crisis most people face today. Not a crisis of knowledge, not a lack of opportunity, but a lack of philosophy, a solid, chosen lens through which to live. Without a personal philosophy, we drift, we imitate, we hustle without direction, we become reactive, not intentional. And when we finally pause, we wonder, why am I still stuck? Think about this. You read all the books, you follow the advice, you change jobs, change habits, even change cities. You do the things everyone says will lead to growth. But no matter how much you tweak the outside, something on the inside still feels off. That's the sign. The inner compass is misaligned. You're steering without a map. You're chasing speed without asking if you're even on the right road. You feel exhausted, not from the distance traveled, but from not knowing where you're going. Let's bring it closer. Picture someone in their 20s. They've grown up with the internet, exposed to thousands of life paths, success stories, gurus, role models. Every scroll shows them another version of who they should be. But instead of feeling inspired, they feel overwhelmed, scattered, lost. Why? Because they're being pulled in every direction, by every voice except their own. They try a new career because it's trending. They set a goal because someone else posted it. They abandon their path the moment it gets hard, thinking, maybe I'm not cut out for this. They feel behind, not because they are, but because they've never defined what ahead really means. But here's the truth. It's not the goal that's wrong. It's the foundation that's missing. The inner philosophy, the why behind every what. And this doesn't just affect the young. Someone in their late 30s or 40s, juggling career, family, bills, expectations, they're responsible. They're doing all the right things. They've checked all the boxes: degree, job, house, family, and yet late at night, a quiet voice whispers, "Is this it?" That's not a midlife crisis. That's a misalignment crisis. Because they've spent years building a life around roles, but not around roots, around tasks, but not around truth. They've been driven by duty, not clarity. Jim Rohn said, if you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much. Here's the hard part. Most people don't even realize their philosophy has been outsourced, inherited, absorbed by accident, never examined, passed down through culture, media, school, and even well-meaning parents. They say that's just how life is. But is it? They say you have to suffer to succeed. But who taught you that? They say I'm just not that kind of person. But since when? Based on what? We rarely ask, who built these beliefs? Do they belong to me, or did I just pick them up and never let them go? Philosophy isn't some abstract idea for scholars or ivory tower thinkers. It's practical, personal. It's the set of beliefs that shape how you wake up, how you show up, and how you respond to life. It's the lens through which every decision is made. If your philosophy says, "I'm not enough," then every opportunity will feel like a threat. If your philosophy says hard work equals suffering, then you'll always resist discipline. If your philosophy says success is only for the lucky, then you'll never feel worthy of progress. But imagine if your philosophy shifted to something like growth is possible, discipline is self-respect, success is built, not bestowed. Suddenly, everything changes. Not because life gets easier, but because you finally have a lens to see it through, a way to interpret challenge, a way to anchor your choices, a way to stay aligned when the world pulls in every direction. So here's the question I invite you to sit with. What is your current philosophy? Where did it come from? Is it serving you? Is it worth keeping? Or is it time to rewrite it? In a noisy world, clarity is power. And the only way to gain clarity is to go inward, to reflect, to question, to choose. Because once you choose your philosophy, you begin to choose your direction. And once you choose your direction, you can start to change your destiny. Jim Rohn often said, "Success is not something you pursue, it's something you attract by the person you become." And at the heart of becoming that person is one word: philosophy. What is philosophy? It's not just theory. It's not just a mindset. It's your internal compass, the story you tell yourself about how the world works, what matters, and who you are within it. It's the filter through which all your choices flow. Change your philosophy, and you change your future. One philosophy equals the root of all results. Jim taught that everything in your life flows downstream from philosophy. If your results aren't what you want, don't start with your actions. Start with your beliefs. Sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap a destiny. But where do thoughts come from? From your philosophy. That quiet, often invisible set of ideas that shape the way you see every situation, every opportunity, and every challenge. Let's break it down. If your philosophy says, "Life is against me," your thoughts will be defensive. You'll approach the world in protection mode. Your actions will be reactive, cautious, and often fear-based. Your habits will be rooted in avoiding risk, staying small, minimizing discomfort, and your results, they will mirror a life lived in retreat, always bracing for the next blow. Now compare that to a different philosophy, one that says, "Life is a gift." That belief creates thoughts of appreciation. You wake up in gratitude. You start noticing beauty. Your actions follow that energy. More generous, more creative, more open. Your habits build momentum, and suddenly your results begin to shift, not because the world has changed, but because your filter has. Jim often emphasized, philosophy doesn't make everything easier. It doesn't eliminate the obstacles, but it does make the path clearer. And clarity, more than motivation, is what moves people forward. Think of philosophy like the soil in which your life grows. If the soil is dry, toxic, and unexamined, don't be surprised if the fruit is bitter. You can water it, you can trim the leaves, but nothing will grow strong until the roots are healthy. That's why Jim used the metaphor, you don't fix fruit by painting it, you fix the root system. You go down to the unseen foundation and ask, what's really feeding this life? So if you want to grow better fruit, like joy, resilience, clarity, fulfillment, and real results, you need better roots. You need a well-nourished, intentional, chosen philosophy. And here's the beautiful part. It's never too late to plant new roots. You can begin to rebuild your internal soil today, one belief at a time. 2. Your philosophy is either built or borrowed. One of Jim's most powerful observations was this: if you don't design your own life, someone else will design it for you. And that starts with your philosophy. Too many people live with a second-hand philosophy. They absorb beliefs from parents, teachers, society, media, never questioning, never choosing. They inherit patterns, pick up assumptions from childhood or culture, and call them truth. But these truths were never examined. They were simply absorbed. The danger? You end up living a life that isn't yours. You follow a blueprint designed by someone else. And because it doesn't fit your spirit, your pace, or your purpose, it eventually creates internal friction. You chase goals you never truly desired. You pursue definitions of success that leave you feeling hollow. You fight battles that drain rather than grow you. And then one day, you wake up, not necessarily broken, but disoriented, not sure why what you're doing no longer inspires you, not sure why the wins don't feel like wins. That's the moment to pause and ask, whose philosophy am I living by? Jim's advice was simple but revolutionary. Choose your philosophy with intention. Ask yourself the tough questions. Do I believe life is abundant or scarce? Do I see failure as final or as feedback? Do I think I can grow through effort, or am I stuck with what I have? Do I let the past dictate my identity, or do I rewrite it with new patterns? Because the quality of your life is shaped by the quality of your core beliefs, and those beliefs stem from the philosophy you choose to live by. Creating your own philosophy is like writing a new operating system. It takes time, it takes effort, but once installed, it runs everything. It influences your reactions, your resilience, your risk tolerance, your relationships. It shapes how you show up to life. And just like software, your inner operating system needs updates. What served you at 18 may not serve you at 30. What protected you at 25 may limit you at 40. So be willing to pause, reflect, rebuild, reclaim your mental OS. Because when you do, life becomes less about survival and more about authorship. It takes work, but the return is exponential, a life that finally feels like your own. 3. The formula. Thoughts, emotions, actions, results. Jim outlined a simple but profound formula. Thoughts create emotions. Emotions lead to actions. Actions generate results. But all of that is powered by your philosophy. It's the invisible engine beneath the surface, the deep programming that silently shapes every response, decision, and expectation you carry into the world. Imagine two people with the same job, same skills, same opportunities. One thrives, the other struggles. Why? Because one sees obstacles as growth, the other sees them as confirmation of their inadequacy. One views challenges as stepping stones, the other sees them as stop signs. The difference? Not luck, not talent. Philosophy. Jim Rohn emphasized this over and over because it's so easy to overlook. We think external strategies change outcomes, but those strategies are always filtered through our internal beliefs. If your philosophy is one of possibility, then effort energizes you. But if your philosophy is based in limitation, even success will exhaust you because you don't believe it's sustainable or deserved. This is why Jim insisted on the importance of personal development habits like reading, reflection, journaling, and conscious self-education. Those aren't just feel-good activities. They are tools for upgrading your operating system. Without new input, your philosophy remains static, and static philosophy equals stagnant results. Think about it. How can you expect new outcomes if you keep interpreting life through the same outdated frame? Your inner world, the thoughts you tolerate, the stories you repeat, the standards you normalize, always manifests in your outer world. That's not just poetic, it's practical. It means if your relationships, results, or routines are stuck, the first place to look isn't your calendar, it's your convictions. This is why transformation isn't about doing more, it's about becoming more. And becoming starts with believing something new. So ask yourself, what's the operating system behind your life? And is it serving the person you want to become? 4. 3 pillars of a strong life philosophy. Jim offered many ideas, but 3 stood out as foundational. A. Value-based philosophy. Ask yourself, what do I value most? If you value comfort over growth, you'll avoid challenge. If you value approval over integrity, you'll betray yourself. If you value ease over excellence, you'll settle for average. Jim encouraged building a value system rooted in honesty, discipline, responsibility, contribution. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. These values create stability, especially when circumstances get unstable. B. Growth-based philosophy. This is the belief that you are not stuck, that improvement is always available. Jim called it personal development. He believed the secret to success isn't doing more, it's becoming more. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. When your philosophy embraces growth, you become curious, not judgmental. You bounce back quicker. You celebrate progress, not perfection. Growth isn't about massive leaps. It's about steady, intentional shifts that compound. C. Action-based philosophy. Philosophy without action is daydreaming. Jim was a huge advocate for execution. Affirmation without discipline is the beginning of delusion. He taught that real belief shows up in behavior. If you say you believe in your dream but don't act on it, do you really? An action-based philosophy is one that turns insight into implementation. Start small. One habit, one commitment, one step, then repeat. 5. Rewrite the script. Philosophy by design. Jim was never about blind positivity. He was about empowered clarity. If your current philosophy was a movie script, would you want to live it out? If not, it's time to rewrite. Here's how. Step 1. Audit your assumptions. What do you believe about success, failure, time, relationships? Step 2. Identify your inherited narratives. Which beliefs did you adopt without questioning? Step 3. Choose your new core beliefs. What do you want to believe about growth, resilience, worth? Step 4. Act in alignment with those beliefs. Let behavior reinforce belief. Step 5. Review and refine. Every month, revisit your philosophy. Upgrade where needed. Designing a personal philosophy is not a one-time event. It's a lifelong habit of alignment. Jim believed that the best life is not the one that looks good, but the one that feels aligned. And alignment begins with philosophy. 6. Quotes that anchor a powerful philosophy. Let's close with a few of Jim's greatest hits, each one a seed for a stronger philosophy. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. Don't join an easy crowd. You won't grow. Go where the expectations and the demands to perform are high. You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. Final reflection. Jim Rohn didn't just teach success, he taught self-leadership, and that leadership begins with how you think. So today, don't ask, what should I do? Ask, what should I believe? Because once you choose your philosophy, you're no longer reacting to life, you're leading it. And that changes everything. Start with one belief, then build a life around it. After exploring philosophy as the foundation of personal success, the question now becomes, how do you apply this today? How do you translate abstract insight into concrete transformation? Jim Rohn believed in the power of small, consistent actions. He said success nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. With that in mind, here are 3 actions you can take immediately to start reshaping your personal philosophy and, by extension, your future. 1. Write down your personal philosophy. This isn't an academic exercise. This is a mirror, a way to see what's really driving you. Most people go through life without ever articulating the beliefs that govern their decisions. Action step. Take 15 to 30 minutes. Sit in a quiet space with a notebook or a blank document. Without overthinking, answer this prompt. What do I believe about myself, others, success, failure, time, and growth? Write freely. Don't worry about grammar or structure. Let it flow. Let it be raw and honest. Once you finish, review what you've written. What patterns do you notice? Are your beliefs empowering or limiting? Did you choose these beliefs or did you inherit them? Why this matters? Because awareness precedes change. You can't shift what you haven't named. When you write it down, you externalize it. And when you externalize it, you take back power. Optional reflection. Reframe at least one limiting belief. Examples: I'm not disciplined. I am building my discipline every day. I'm not a morning person. I'm becoming the kind of person who welcomes the morning. 2. Identify 3 repeating thoughts and trace their origin. Jim said, your philosophy creates your attitude creates your actions create your results. But philosophy is often hidden inside your thought loops, the phrases you repeat daily, sometimes unconsciously. Action step. Over the next 24 hours, be a quiet observer. Carry a small notebook or use a notes app. When you catch yourself thinking something familiar, especially something critical or discouraging, write it down. At the end of the day, choose 3 of these repeating thoughts. For each one, ask, where did this thought come from? Who or what shaped it? Is it true? Is it helpful? What belief is underneath this thought? Why this matters? Because thoughts are signals. They reveal your internal programming. When you catch a negative loop, you get a doorway into the belief system driving it. Pro tip: don't judge the thought, just investigate it. Your goal isn't to shut it down. Your goal is to understand its roots, and once you understand it, you can choose something better. Example: thought, I always mess up big opportunities. Origin: a failed job interview in college. Underlying belief: I'm not good under pressure. Reframe: I'm learning how to prepare and perform under pressure. Each opportunity is a chance to grow. 3. Choose one Jim Rohn quote as your guiding philosophy for the week. Jim's teachings are rich with wisdom, but transformation happens when you live with an idea long enough for it to take root. Action step: choose one quote from Jim Rohn that speaks to your current life challenge or aspiration. Here are a few to pick from. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you don't like how things are, change it. You're not a tree. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Write that quote somewhere visible, on your phone lock screen, on a sticky note at your desk, in your planner or journal. Now live with that quote for 7 days. Each morning, read it aloud. Each evening, reflect on how you embodied or resisted its message. Why this matters? Because repetition creates resonance. The more you return to an idea, the deeper it plants itself into your worldview. One well-integrated idea can become a compass for countless decisions. Optional practice: at the end of the week, journal what changed in your behavior or mindset. How did this quote challenge you? Will you continue with this quote or choose a new one? Final words. Jim Rohn's genius wasn't in giving you a massive blueprint. It was in offering simple disciplines that, when practiced daily, rebuild your inner world. These 3 actions, writing your philosophy, observing your thoughts, and choosing a guiding quote, are simple, but their power lies in consistency. You don't need to fix your whole life today. You just need to choose one place to begin. The major key to your better future is you, Jim Rohn. So begin. One thought, one belief, one quote, one day. The rest will follow. 3. Choose one Jim Rohn quote as your guiding philosophy for the week. Jim's teachings are rich with wisdom, but transformation happens when you live with an idea long enough for it to take root. Action step: choose one quote from Jim Rohn that speaks to your current life challenge or aspiration. Here are a few to pick from. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you don't like how things are, change it. You're not a tree. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Write that quote somewhere visible, on your phone lock screen, on a sticky note at your desk, in your planner or journal. Now live with that quote for 7 days. Each morning, read it aloud. Each evening, reflect on how you embodied or resisted its message. Why this matters? Because repetition creates resonance. The more you return to an idea, the deeper it plants itself into your worldview. One well-integrated idea can become a compass for countless decisions. Optional practice: at the end of the week, journal what changed in your behavior or mindset. How did this quote challenge you? Will you continue with this quote or choose a new one? Final words. Jim Rohn's genius wasn't in giving you a massive blueprint. It was in offering simple disciplines that, when practiced daily, rebuild your inner world. These 3 actions, writing your philosophy, observing your thoughts, and choosing a guiding quote, are simple, but their power lies in consistency. You don't need to fix your whole life today. You just need to choose one place to begin. The major key to your better future is you, Jim Rohn. So begin. One thought, one belief, one quote, one day. The rest will follow. Let's take a moment. Let's breathe. Let's not rush past what we've just absorbed. We've walked through something far more than information. We've uncovered a framework for living. We've explored a truth that sits at the root of nearly every human breakthrough or breakdown. That philosophy, your internal belief system, shapes everything. Your choices, your results, your relationships, your sense of self, your future. Think about that. Not your goals, not your habits, not even your emotions, but something deeper. the lens through which you interpret the world. The root of every result in your life can be traced back to the invisible, often unquestioned beliefs that live quietly in the background of your mind. Beliefs picked up from childhood, from culture, from trauma, from mentors, from moments that shaped you and others that scarred you. You've now seen how a poor, inherited, or unexamined philosophy can gradually, almost imperceptibly, lead to a life of compromise. A life where you play small, shrink back, react from fear, and feel disconnected from the person you hope to become. But you've also glimpsed what happens when a person wakes up, when they pause, reflect, and choose. When they say, wait, this belief doesn't serve me anymore. That rule I've lived by, it wasn't mine to begin with. I can rewire how I think and therefore how I live. Let's recap what we've truly uncovered here. You now understand that success doesn't begin with action. It begins with awareness. Awareness of the story beneath the strategy. You've traced how thoughts flow from beliefs and how those beliefs are born from the philosophy you hold. You've learned the difference between philosophy you inherited versus philosophy you intentionally selected, and how reclaiming that power is the beginning of all inner freedom. You've been given practical tools, not just to think differently, but to live differently. To identify, rewrite, reinforce, enact from a new foundation of belief. This isn't just motivational insight. This is a blueprint. This is a mirror. This is a chance to reset the coordinates of your entire journey. And now the question is no longer, did I understand this? The real question is, will I let it transform me? This isn't theory anymore. It's a fork in the road. Because here's the truth. You can hear this message and file it away like any other content, or you can let it change you. And that choice, that internal shift, begins now. So what happens next? You don't need to change everything today. You don't need a perfect 10-year plan. You just need to decide. To say, from today on, I will live by design, not by default. I will examine my beliefs. I will upgrade my operating system. I will choose philosophy that aligns with who I want to become. Jim Rohn said, "Don't let your learning lead to knowledge. Let your learning lead to action." So here's your moment to act. A quiet revolution begins within. Real transformation is rarely loud. It doesn't come with fireworks or fanfare. It begins in quiet moments like this. When you pause instead of react. When you ask, what belief is guiding me here? When you choose a new response, even if it feels unfamiliar. One new belief, one new sentence, one new commitment. That's all it takes to turn the wheel. A question to carry. What philosophy is leading my life today, and is it worthy of me? If the answer isn't a resounding yes, then don't shame yourself. Just begin. Begin the audit, begin the rebuilding, begin the choosing. Your voice matters. This isn't just about internal change. It's about joining a movement of people who live consciously, who think, question, grow. So leave your mark, share your intent. Comment below this video, "I'm rewriting my philosophy." Let those words be your signal, not just to others, but to yourself. You are not who you were yesterday. You are not trapped by your past patterns. You are capable of rewriting your story, starting with the beliefs that shape it. Let this comment be a declaration, a digital signature that says, "I will no longer outsource my direction. I will think deeply. I will live intentionally. I will grow by design." In closing, Jim Rohn didn't shout. He didn't promise shortcuts. He didn't hype false hope. He simply invited us to reflect, to pause, to examine, to choose. And so today I invite you to do the same. Because at the end of the day, success is not a finish line. It's not applause or achievement. Success is becoming the kind of person who walks in alignment with truth, clarity, and purpose. And that begins not with action, but with philosophy. So take one more breath and decide. The key to your better future has never been out there. It has always been you.